All rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Alvarez, absent. Councilman Cullen.
Here.
Councilwoman Eckhart. Here. Councilwoman Hudak.
Here.
Supervisor Hay.
Here. Notations of the exit from the front and the rear in electronic device, please put it on vibrate. Hey kids, you want to sit up here with me?
There's a seat right here.
Okay, work session, first is discussion on the sign ordinance. The person that asked for this to be on the agenda is not present, so I'll continue that later on. If the person comes in during our regular portion of the meeting, we'll finish the subject matter around and go back to him quickly.
Okay,
and
that's
go from
fine.
there. Okay, next is discussion the employee handbook, employment of relatives. We discussed this at great length the last time. I think the only thing that was being brought back here tonight was the definition of the immediate family and how far out we were gonna go. And I decided that the definition of the immediate family should be the length of how far we go. Because that's what's in our employee handbook as well. So in other words, it pertains to spouse, brother, sister, parents, children, stepchildren, father-in-law, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, and any other member of an employee's household. That's the only additional that's not in the handbook. And if anyone else wants to change it, tell me now and we do it. Liz, you happy with that?
Pardon me?
Are you happy with?
Yeah, that's fine. So Tony, that would cover, like, if someone was employed here and they were a stepchild and wanted to hire their stepmother, that's covered in the rest of this, correct? Yeah.
First of all, the employment has to come through us.
Right.
We
No,
just-
no, I know,
We
but I
just
mean-
basically tell them no. In other words, it's not, we're not gonna go to third, fourth, fifth generation.
No,
We've
no,
never
no,
had
no.
the problem before,
No.
and I think we're creating more of a problem by even considering it,
Okay.
okay? So, I'm gonna put this on the agenda for next month for approval, okay?
Very good. For a public hearing, right?
No, not for changing the handbook.
No? Okay.
It's just a policy, it's not,
Okay,
it's not
okay.
a local law.
All right, that's right.
I know. Well, let's finish with this. Next is the discussion employee handbook, and in the definition of immediate family, we're gonna add the word stepchildren.
Yeah.
And you know what? And you know what I'm gonna put? And any other member of an employee's household as well. I'm gonna add that now, since I added it to the other. Then it's-
Yeah, I think
the
that's-
handbook is one and the same. Is that
Yep.
okay with everyone?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so I'll make that change to what you have in front of you, and I'll have that for the agenda for the first week in September. Okay. Now we'll go back to the discussion on the sign ordinance. The gentleman that asked for that to be put on the agenda is here. Would you like to come up to the mic and address the town board? Good evening. Just state your name.
John Patillo.
Okay. Now, John had contacted me on a few occasions. John's here about the sign ordinance. John's in the real estate business. And he has a concern about, I guess, the amount of signs for open houses. Is that the question?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I just want to tell you before we start, this part of the ordinance has been there for, God, 20 years. It's nothing that's new. It's evidently something that most real estate people never knew about and maybe was never enforced by the town, but now that we have some enforcement officers, we've always had enforcement, but not as much as we do now. And most of these signs go up on the weekends, as you know, Saturday and Sunday, when we had very little to no enforcement. So that's one of the reasons, you know, you're seeing stepped up enforcement of a regulation that's been there for a long time. So you make your pitch now.
Well, basically, we came to the town a long time ago, probably sometime back in '98 or '99. Actually, I think Ron Hopper was sitting or working with the town. Ed Jasko was the building inspector. And what had happened was a company based out of England decided to have rates that were 2%. You didn't have an agent, you basically sold the house yourself. And what they did was they offered the client help and sent them 25, one package was 25, and another package was 30 signs. So the people would get these signs and they would place the signs strategically so that a car driving on any road with 30 signs or 25 signs would find their house. It didn't take long when all of a sudden they had 20 listings and they had 600 signs, which was an embarrassment to us as realtors. So each of us took a section or a town. Eileen Barrett went to Carmel, somebody else went down to Mahopac, I went to Southeast. And we asked to stop directional signage. Directional signage is when they put up a sign and the sign stays in the ground showing direction to a house. And at that point, there were so many signs out there that they had to be taken care of. Each town, with the help of realtors, we notified the town where signs were laying or where signs were placed. And it got to a point, I think the town of Patterson actually started fining the company Foxton, which was based out of California, not California, England, and made them remove their signs or pay the fines. We as realtors will put up our sign for a short period of time, 2 hours, 3 hours, and the signs get picked up. You know, I understand that, you know, I'm finding out now because I've been doing this since 1982, and I always did open houses. I believe that a house sells because of a sign. It's a very important factor in selling real estate. Mr. Tischler, who lived on Farm to Market Road, which was a major thoroughfare, okay? When I had his listing, he refused to have a sign because he didn't want people to know that his house was for sale on the street. After 4 months of not having any activity, lots of advertisement, everything that was being done, he finally agreed to let me put up a sign. 2 weeks later, we got an offer on his house, and it eventually went to contract. So signs are very important. Now, I understand that we can take and put a sign on somebody's property, like, let's say when the time comes that they have elections, if the sign is placed on somebody's property, the town doesn't have jurisdiction to remove that sign. Whether they've got 100 signs up, 1,500 signs up, you can't remove it. It's on somebody's property. As realtors, we're looking to just put up a number of signs to get a person, like if you lived, if you lived over in Solomon's Daily Brook, okay, for instance. In order to put a sign to sell a house in Solomon's Daily Brook, you need a sign on 22. You need a sign where the fork goes up to Joe's Hill, or well, you know, there at the corner. Then you need another sign at Gage Road so that people don't start driving down Gage Road. Then you go up to Solomon's Daily Brook, and then depending on where the house is in Solomon's Daily Brook, you might have 2 or 3 more signs in that development. And if the signs are up from 1 to 4 or 2 to 5 or whatever, it's 3 hours. I don't see where we're hurting the town. We're not leaving our stuff on the ground. We're not nailing it to a tree, or we're not nailing it to a post, you know. And there again, I don't want to see everybody start, you know, buying paper signs, because that's what they'll do. The signs that I have are $150. They're custom made. They've got magnetic tops so that I can put the hours. If my customer wants her showing from 12 to 4, I just put 12 to 4 on the sign with magnetic numbers. Now, we can take a cheap piece of stick, a piece of oak tag, and treat it like a tag sale, you know. That's not what we're looking to do. We try to be professional, we try to do the right thing, and all we're asking for is to allow us to have a couple of hours where the signs are put out and picked right back up. They don't stay out overnight. I don't think you've ever seen, and I know that there's been problems, once again, it's always with directional signs, where a company might be building a subdivision of homes, and then they start at 684 and run their way through our town, through another town, to get to where their project is. That's a directional sign. That's what we came to the town in opposition. And each one of us took a town. My town was Southeast. So all we're asking for is some sort of leeway to give realtors and the public a chance to sell their houses.
Well,
And I don't know what's involved to, to change something, and I know if it can't be changed, it can't be changed.
Well, anything can be changed. We went through an extensive review of it probably 3 to 4 years ago, but this part of the ordinance was not changed. You're still entitled to. Now, you're using dates going back to the 80s, which I can respect, the 90s, and a lot of things have changed since then. People don't need signs anymore. You know what they need? A cell phone. On your cell phone, you just punch in the address. If they know the address of the location, they just punch it in, and some guy or gal on the phone tells you where to go. And it's not usually to heck, but it's to the location.
A lot of times people drive up and they're looking at an area, they want to get a feel for it, they go to an open house. Open houses have always been productive. At least for me, they've been productive.
I just recently had an open house on a piece of property I'm selling upstate. And an open house, so the public knows if you've never sold a home, an open house is designed, isn't it more designed for real estate brokers to come to see what's potentially going to be on the market?
No, that's during the week. During the week, we do that too, which now,
Yeah, but now
we're
you're
not
you're
allowed
talking
to.
weekends, now you're
is
talking,
public
7
open
days a
house.
week where this could happen.
Yes.
No, it's Wednesday. Putnam is Wednesday, we do an open house for the realtors.
For realtors.
Okay.
And Westchester, it's
And so
done
what's
on
this other
Thursday.
sign say?
Excuse me?
If the open house is for realtors on Wednesday,
Right.
Is there another open house?
No, the realtor, we do an open house so that we can invite all the other
I get
brokers
that.
and agents.
What is the other one then?
The other one is an open house for the public, so that the public can come and view the house that's for sale.
And that's usually
Yes.
a Saturday, right? Or a
And
weekend.
it's either a Saturday or a Sunday.
Well, the public doesn't know that. Open house, open house.
And it's actually published online, but a lot of times people do get lost. Sometimes they can't find it. You go down a wrong street. It happens, You don't want to discourage somebody, but by the same token, it's a temporary sign. I don't know if there's a difference, the word temporary versus.
Well, temporary word is not temporary anymore. It's just signs.
Right, and I think it was directional because when John, who was the code enforcer that came to the house that I was doing the open house at, he had said, you can't put up directional signs. I said, these are not directional signs. Directional signs are permanent signs that are left out overnight and they stay there until the house sells. That's not what we want to see happen.
There's big confusion between what you're saying and reality, because open house to the public is an open house. They don't know it's a broker one, they don't know if it's whatever. A directional sign's a directional sign.
But
An
directional
open house
signs
sign is a directional sign to get the person to the open house, is it not?
temporarily, yes.
Well, but see, that's semantics of the word.
Well, I think what John means, and correct me if I'm wrong, I was in the business for 23 years and not half as successful as you, I might add, but in the beginning, we didn't do many open houses at all for the public. So the public open houses, in other words, the normal open houses for brokers are on Wednesdays. You put up a sign, the brokers know where they're going. That's not what you're talking
No.
about. You're talking about a weekend where you're bringing people, you're having a lot of signs because you're bringing people off 22.
Correct.
Because your homeowner wants you to. So the one thing I will say right now is the people I speak to are very, very happy and think the town looks a lot better since our sign ordinance. And what John is saying, so they hold from 12 to 3, they have an open house. He's putting out 6 signs, which are directional, leading you to this open house. They're hoping to get traffic driving down Route 22 who's, oh, this is pretty, let's go see the open house. That's what you're talking about, correct? Some are advertised. I mean, I tend to not be a big fan of signs, and I always had problems. I mean, I didn't do many public open houses because people were worried about theft and things like that, but it's become more and more common now.
I mean, I think, though, Lynn, we have a provision, so, that I'm reading right now in the code. And it's no more than 2 temporary, non-illuminated real estate open house directional signs not exceeding 4 square feet in size per sign face.
Right.
And not exceeding 10 square feet overall, including a maximum of 2 faces and support legs, may be placed at street corners to direct traffic to the house for sale and may not be left overnight.
Right.
So I think that's what we're really saying right now. Is
That's
that-
what's currently in the code.
That's,
Yeah,
well, I wanted to
exactly.
make sure everyone out there knows what we're
Right. That's
basically
currently in the
speaking
code,
about,
and
which
John,
is- That's the code. What you're saying is you would perhaps like to see if, right now, that would have to be modified. is what you're saying. So I believe what you're really saying is, hey, that's what it is now. I believe that maybe you can understand that there is some, that it should be modified because under, you just described Salmon's Daily Brook Farm, where two signs are not going to be able to point people to it. And is there something that we can do to modify that provision to say, hey, under certain circumstances, it could be more? I mean, I think that's what we're really talking
correct.
about. Yeah, so,
And we're not asking for them to be any longer than what the open house is posted for. It gets posted in the newspaper, it gets posted on the MLS, and people know to go there between those hours.
and it couldn't be left overnight.
No.
So, okay.
And like I said, it's not directional where, and I know the situations that we had back in the 90s when Foxton's had only 20 listings with 600 signs in our community.
right.
And it was a disgrace.
Well, I remember when new developments came in and developers would have, there were signs up for years for developments that were fully built and occupied. So that's not what you're talking about either.
No.
I understand why there should be some concerns about putting these signs up even temporarily, but that would be.
But I'm hearing these signs are not directional. They most certainly are directional.
Yeah, they
If
are.
you need one on the corner of Route 22 to get Solomon, you get to Federal Hill and Milltown, you put one there. You get one to Gage Road, you put one there. When you get up to, what's the next road?
Well, they are directional. I don't
They
think.
are.
any-
They're
yes.
allowed to be directional in the code that I
But-
just read.
Yeah, but two.
Correct.
But we're saying, how many do you need to get to where you're going? You might end up with a dozen signs to get to a location.
Well, unless you limit the amount of signs, so if you say, and I'm just throwing it out there because I think this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about 200 signs that Foxton's had. What we're talking about is more than 2 signs under circumstances which, you need more direction. I really think that if what's being proposed is expanding the 2 signs to something, I'm making this up, guys, to something like 4 signs, under the circumstances, then fine, because it still have to be a limit to these signs.
What's
because
your
you
number?
wouldn't
What
want
is
to
your
get-
number that you're looking at?
It's hard to, honestly, Tony, it's hard to say because every house in our town might
You
have a
could use up to
different.
a dozen in certain areas, though, right?
I would say
Depends.
realistically, probably, in most cases, 7 to 8 signs is probably what's needed to get to somebody's place. And there again, you can go back to if there was, let's say that the code said that there's 2, okay?
Right now, it says 2.
Okay, so in theory, if I wanted to get to Solomon's Daily Brook, I put one out on 22, and then I drive into, let's say, somebody's house, and I say, hey, do you mind if I stick a sign on your property just for a couple of hours and put a sign there, and then go to another intersection where I need to make sure that the person doesn't go down a wrong street? We don't want to do that. We want to work within the code, and like I said, I've been doing this since 1982.
How many listings do you have approximately?
Well, you can only do so many, but I have probably about 15.
You have 15. How many brokers and licensed real estate salespeople do you have in your?
In our company?
Yeah.
1,400.
But I mean, if every person were to go out there and put up, I mean, you're not the only one. There's numerous real estate, there's numerous homes for sale in this town. I mean, when I ride up and down the road, it's like unbelievable the number of homes that are for sale. So you're talking about a lot of
But
signs.
just what was mentioned before, not everybody is willing to do an open house. A lot of agents don't want to do an open house because you could sit there for 3 hours and not get a single customer and then spend 30 minutes putting them out, 30 minutes picking them up, and your day was shot. But when you're working for a customer and you're selling their house, they're relying on you to get the house sold. I don't rely on the next agent to sell my listing. I rely on John Petrillo to get the job done. And if somebody helps me get it done, then that's great. That's why we have teams. Whether it's our team, whether it's another company, it's shared. Everybody shares a part of the pie.
I mean, we had a problem 2 years ago with the development in Carmel.
Pulte.
Right, and they littered southeast with signs
Directional signs.
every weekend.
But that wasn't signs that were put out. They were nailed to trees.
Well, they were-
No, they're both ways.
Well,
They
they-
were
but they
there.
were not the
And they
nice
pull them up on
signs.
the weekend because they knew there was no enforcement.
Right.
And that's
Friday
part-
night, they weren't
right.
there. Sunday, Saturday morning,
But
they're
that's
there.
abusive.
Well, but how do you
Well,
correct?
that's the
But
That's
issue.
the
we're,
problem.
I mean, we're not being abusive.
But
I
you're
can-
not, but others are. There's numerous ones, there's numerous agencies out there. If everyone did it, there's numerous homes for sale.
I mean, the, part of the reason this whole sign ordinance took place was because people had tag sales and everything. Nobody ever takes the sign down afterwards. I mean,
I mean,
and that, I mean, you guys do, yeah, but I'm talking about tag sales. So how do you say your
I think-
signs are
I think the
okay,
difference-
Pulte's aren't okay? I mean, that,
Yeah.
it's just.
I think the difference is you don't want realtors or anybody to just get a stick and a piece of cardboard and then leave this, because you know what, it didn't cost them anything. Like I said, my signs are a lot of money, you know, and the bottom line is
But
customer.
we won't be able to regulate nice signs versus.
no, I know.
No,
You
no,
that.
but I
So-
think we already, we have a provision for open house signs.
Mm-hmm.
So that provision says what it says. So we're not expanding it by no means to say, you know, paper signs and all, so we already have those regulations.
Right.
I think really what it boils down to is you want, I'm saying it again, what you would like, and I assume that you're speaking, hopefully for other realtors who should send us a letter or something saying they
You know,
support it.
I didn't want to, I had spoke to Bob, and Bob had said to me, Johnny, you want to go to the town and discuss it, you don't need to call anybody, we don't need to call, you know, Westchester MLS, we don't need to get any support, go to the town, present it, because this is the only town that doesn't allow an open house sign.
No.
I mean, I'm sorry, two.
Multiple, more than two.
More than two, yes.
Okay, so that's really, I think that's really what we're talking about here, is how many more signs? I'm just saying that it just sounds like we have the ability to limit open house signs. The issue is whether or not we would increase the number of the signs, and I think that's really what it's
Correct.
about.
Right, but,
Yes.
and I would want to look at other towns
Right.
too, because they just might not be enforcing on the weekend. We are a little bit unusual
Mm-hmm.
that we enforce on the weekend. I'm not saying we have to go along with the other towns,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes it is good to see what other towns, how they handle it. My concern in Southeast, and I'm not saying no to this at all, but my concern is we're kind of, are the hub, and a lot of, I mean, that's why Pulte, even when they put up, and Bob's right, temporary signs, that they left up, or they didn't, you know, or they just put up, it's from 84 going all the way, you know, to Carmel. And, you know, that can be a lot of signs. That can be a lot
But
of
this
signs.
is, we're talking about open house signs.
Correct.
I mean,
Well,
But
Right,
that's
but
what
that's
they
what
had.
it is.
was
That's what
they had
Pulte,
was-
when they
Yeah.
were building, they had open houses every
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah, exactly, so.
Okay,
We'll think about it or
yeah,
consider it or
we'll take it under advisement, and
Okay.
if we can,
Definitely.
come to a.
but there is a
some
concern
sort of-
about the numbers. I mean, you're not the only person. There's other agencies, other real estate brokers, there could be a lot of signs, depending on what the number is. Two is not unreasonable.
They haven't been out there all this time. It's, like she said, a lot of agents don't want to do it. A lot of agents believe it's a waste of time. A lot of agents say, well, I'll pacify my client. I don't look at it like that. I look at it that I have an opportunity to get a customer. I have 100% of the deal if I sell them that house. That's my job. That's what I do.
Nope. If there's someone else to speak, we'll listen as well. John, we will take it
Yeah.
under advisement, and
Yeah,
I
thank
know
you
your number,
for,
I'll let you know
thank you for coming.
if it moves anywhere.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Hi, Peter Bell. John's on the selling side, I'm on the buying side. In today's day and age, I'm not saying anything about you, Lynn, but things are done differently than they used to be done.
Oh, good, they missed that.
Things are done differently than they used to be done. Now people go on their computer and they look at all of the listings online, and very specifically, they can take a look and see what listings have open houses in a particular town on a particular weekend. 20 years ago, I never sold a house from somebody walking in, coming to me and saying, I want to buy this house. But I have sold houses where my clients have gone around to the open house and say, listen, I saw this house and I want to make an offer on it. I don't necessarily think, as somebody that lives and works in this area, that I want to see 8 open house signs, you know, directing you to a particular property. But I think if you have something like 4 or 5, I think that that's reasonable. And there's no question in my mind, you never see an open house sign left up overnight. As a matter of fact, the realtors are so much ready to get out of there that they get in their car, they pick up their signs, and they go as soon as that open house is over. So I think it's great for the community. It brings people that might not see what's going on in a town by looking at properties that might not normally do that. We have 20,000 cars that go past, Route 22 every day. So that's a lot of people that can take a look at houses that they might not necessarily see. Thank you.
Because I know like they'll have in the southeast, they'll have the patch. Well, actually on, I want to say it's Friday or Friday, they have a part that says, open houses in and around, Southeast Brewster, whatever they call it. And then they'll give the directions, you just plunk it in, so you don't really need the signs, because they're gonna find it anyway. But, I mean, whenever I look at the open house signs, I'm almost thinking that you're driving around and you say, oh, look at that open house. I didn't look at anything, so then maybe I'll follow the signs, but otherwise, I think, for the most part, you're absolutely correct with the computer. You go on and say, here's the open house, oh, look, it's the address, 123 Mockingbird Lane, and here you post it on your GPS, and boom, you're gone. You don't need the signs, but,
Well, we're hearing from the real estate people tonight, and I'm telling you right now, the tag sale people are gonna be right behind them.
Well, don't we have an ordinance already for tag sales that you have to be within 30
It's
days?
signs, it's not specific for events, that's,
And on their own property.
But this is specific for open houses.
Yeah,
And I
and that's
think-
why they got two, but I'm saying now, if we extend or whatever, then the tag sale people say, why not us? We take them down, but they don't.
Right.
Okay, look,
all right, we'll
we've
think
heard
about
it. If someone on this board puts forward something to me, it'll be on the agenda.
Thanks.
Okay,
thanks.
I'll make a motion to go into the regular portion of the meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll waive the reading of the correspondence. 2 is the approval of the voucher list, $737,475.02. So moved for discussion.
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Setting of the meeting dates and public hearings. All meetings to be held 1360 Route 22, Brewster, New York, at 7 p.m. unless otherwise noted. Thursday, September 7, 2017. Thursday, September 21st, 2017. As you all know, we're coming into the budget season. I already started the budget process, so it's going to start getting busy, at least on my end. Number 4 is the budget. Oh, wait, yeah, I got to get it. Is there a second to that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Budget transfers, waive those readings.
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 5, it's a resolution for certiorari for Lions Properties. Resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast does hereby accept the recommendations of its professional advisors and authorize the town attorney to execute a stipulation of settlement, consent judgment, and/or order of consent in accordance with said recommendations for the following. Petitioner, Lions Properties, tax ID 36-1-44.2, year 2017, assessment $908,500, settled assessment $825,000. And be further resolved that the town attorney is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all stipulations, consent orders, or other documents necessary to reflect the foregoing settlement. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 6 is a resolution of certiorari for Clock Tower Associates. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast does hereby accept the recommendations of its professional advisors and authorizes the town attorney to execute stipulation of settlement, consent judgment, and/or order of consent in accordance with recommendations for the following. Petitioner, Clock Tower Associates, tax ID 57-1-12.1, year 2017, assessment $6,094,898, settled assessment $5,531,000. And be further resolved that the town attorney is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all stipulations, consent orders, and other documents necessary to reflect the foregoing settlement. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 7, resolution is a certiorari for Block Building Associates. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast does hereby accept the recommendations of its professional advisors and authorizes the town attorney to execute a stipulation of settlement, consent judgment and/or order on consent in accordance with said recommendation for the following. Petitioner, Clock Tower Associates, tax ID 56.19-1-40.2, year 2017, assessment $2,040,000, settled assessment $1,575,000. And be further resolved that the town attorney is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all stipulations, consent orders, and other documents necessary to reflect the foregoing settlement. So move for discussion.
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 Is that an error? It says Clock Tower Associates, but it should be Block Building Associates on top?
No, wait, time out.
So in the
Yes.
middle.
Block Building, but then there it says
Yeah.
Clock Tower. I think
Okay.
that should be Block.
Yep. That was not me.
Okay,
Okay, thank you for the catch. I didn't catch it myself.
I was paying attention.
I thought they
About time.
all of a
About
sudden
time.
they owned it.
Exactly.
Okay, so
That's what I
Clock,
was saying.
I
too.
did,
was
that's
like-
what I thought.
so Clock Tower Associates on the resolve clause being changed to Block.
Building associates.
Associates. Okay.
I moved, I accept the change. The seconder,
Second,
you accept the change?
yes?
Yes, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 8.
Were we just
resolution-
voting on the change, or were we voting on the whole?
We're accepting the change and.
Oh, I'm doing both?
voting on the-
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I believe we did.
Is that
Is that good
fine?
enough what we did? I think so too.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, number 8, resolution bond establishment, Red Rooster site plan. Resolved that the bond amount shall be established for the project set forth below. Project name, Red Rooster Drive-In, bond amount, site improvements, $49,000. Erosion and sediment control, $8,000. And be further resolved that the certified copy of this resolution shall be transmitted by the town clerk and the planning board secretary and building inspector forthwith. So move for discussion.
I'll second for discussion.
Discussion?
I just wanted to say that this is a really great, I think, great addition, and they went through the Historic Sites Committee, and were really nice to work with, and I think everyone's going to be really pleased when they see, it's really nice when they see the addition. It really fits in well, and then people can eat there in all weather, so I'm really happy about this.
Yep. Pictures look nice that you sent.
They do. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 9, it's a banking resolution for Mayapack National Bank, Volunteer Park, and Lakeview Senior Center. Now therefore it be resolved that the supervisor and town finance officer are hereby authorized to establish 2 separate and segregated demand deposit accounts with Mayapack Bank, and shall deposit therein such funds received by grant or otherwise for the purpose of improving Volunteer Park and Lakeview Manor Recreation Facility, Senior Center, and be further resolved that the supervisor, town board members, and the town finance officer are hereby authorized to sign and execute any and all signature cards or other necessary documentation prepared by the town's banking institution to evidence such signing authority, and be further resolved that all checks drawn on such demand deposit accounts shall require 2 signatures consisted of any 2 individual members of the town board and our town financial officer, Ron Hun, and be further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to forward a certified copy of this resolution to the town accounting and bookkeeping department and Mayapack Bank forthwith. So move for discussion.
Second, and I have just one question.
Go.
Where you have the third resolved down, and you have town financial officer, parentheses, Ron Hund.
Yes.
If Ron is no longer the financial officer, I mean, that is IG, is that like, for example, Ron Hund, or now?
No, it is currently. If it-
Right, well, that's what I mean, but
So say if Ron Hun leaves,
then it doesn't matter that this resolution says Ron Hund, we don't have to do another one, it's just that you,
I don't think so. This is just authorizes the
Position.
opening of the accounts.
okay.
And once the accounts are open, if there's a change in signatories, then we would have to change that by resolution.
Oh, you would have to anyway, okay, fine.
okay, just for the public, Volunteer Park, we got a grant for $100,000 for improvement. They're putting in, I know facilities up there for bathroom facilities and storage. And as far as Lakeview Senior Center, after a long wait, we waited about 2.5 years to get the financing from the New York State Authority, the DASNY, they call it. And we're gonna have some really nice renovations. We'll have some pictures for you to see soon, and the renovations hopefully will start as soon as we go out to bid. Right now, the architect is drawing up the plans. He's come up with some fairly good plans. I don't want it out yet, but, once it's done, probably by next meeting, we can, demonstrate to the public the look of the new building. And I think it's a good thing. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 10, resolution proposition authorizing library construction and borrowing. Okay, now, therefore be resolved that the town clerk be and that she is hereby authorized to certify the following proposition language to the Putnam County Board of Elections in the time and manner necessary for inclusion on the ballot of the general election to be held in the town, for the town of Southeast on November 7th, 2017. And in quotes, shall the town of Southeast, at the request of the Brewster Public Library, be authorized, A, to construct an addition and make renovations to the Brewster Public Library building at 79 Main Street, Brewster, New York, for use of the library at a total cost not to exceed $2,938,000, and in connection therewith, to accept an ownership interest in the existing building. B, to borrow up to $2,938,000 by issuing town bonds or notes for a term up to 25 years to finance such costs. And C, to raise by levy of a tax upon the taxable real property within the town, in addition to the tax currently levied for library purposes, such amount as is necessary to annually pay the principal and interest on such borrowing when due. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. Okay. What we just read is what's going to be on the proposition come November's election. This town, now I'm going to call, Will, can I call for a public hearing for the comments, because we want the public comment, or just have a regular meeting, have the library come in and allow public comment? Which way do we do it?
I think we just have a regular meeting and have it on the agenda and allow people to come in. I don't think there's any call for a public hearing.
Well, but the public has the opportunity to speak, so we put it onto a work session and the public can speak to it.
You could set it up as a public comment period.
Okay. So I told the library, I don't have the date in front of me, but it's going to be in October. I think it's the first meeting in October. What's the date on that? Do you know? Huh?
October
5th, we were told.
October 5th. So Thursday, October 5th, the town board will hold comment, the library board will be here, make a presentation, probably give us a slideshow, explaining what they plan to do with the renovation of the building. And public will have a comment to ask any questions they have, town board will ask any questions, and then come to the ballot in November, you say yay or nay. Now, in the meantime, the library has a proposal on their agenda to widen, I guess, add additional space to the library. So if you start to see them working down there in the library in the next month or so, they're not jumping the gun. It's two separate things. One is for a smaller renovation, okay? So you say, they don't care what we say. They do care, because they're here tonight. They're going to be back in October with a presentation, and then you, the voters, do that in November. So what you see going on in the next month or so, there's going to be a smaller renovation, which they had money set aside to do, has nothing to do with the proposition that's going to referendum.
And can I have a few, some question for Will, and I think these are really minor. There are changes from, which I'm sure you know, from the petition to what is going to appear on the ballot. There are three minor changes. In other words, the word property was changed to building, the word annually levied was changed to currently, and the word operating purposes, operating, was removed.
When I did the resolution, I did it right from the language that was given to me by bond counsel.
Okay, but, so my question is, if it doesn't, yeah, and I know that from reading our emails, but as long as it doesn't really change what people signed on the petition,
It's not changing the intent.
the intent, so we're fine with those are minor changes.
Yes.
That's all I'm asking. Okay.
Okay.
And that'll be on the website?
Everything's on the website, yes. It'll be listed on ours under the public. Are you listed on your website as well, all this information as well, hopefully?
Eventually, yes, once everything's official. When's our next board meeting? September. We'll be authorizing our website administrator to put all the information on the website, yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next is A resolution authorizing the town supervisor to sign an IMA for sharing a grant with 4 municipalities. Now therefore be resolved that the town of Southeast supervisors hereby authorized to sign an IMA with the town of Bedford, town of North Salem, town of Pound Ridge, and the town of Somers to share in the distribution of grant funds as identified in 4 pages of the attached IMA. So move for discussion.
Second?
Okay, discussion. I came to the board maybe a year and a half ago. We were gonna apply for a grant. We're the only town in Putnam County that's asked to be considered. As you know, after the last major storm, I can't remember if it was, what was the last major one? Anyway, the last major hurricane that basically closed down our town for 4 or 5 days. We now have a generator, so we'll always be in business. Too bad, guys, we gotta work. What it is NISAC. They need some eyes and ears, especially with that last storm. As you know, NISAC's area for maintenance of the poles and everything is widespread. Much in Westchester, they go into Dutchess, they come in here to Putnam County, but only 5 towns signed up for this grant. And we've received $125,000. Of the $125,000, the 5 towns that I just mentioned are gonna share based on their needs. Now, the needs of the town of Bedford, North Salem, Pound Ridge, not so much Somers, they don't have, I don't believe they have a police force, but some of their needs were greater. So with the allocation of money, the town of Pound Ridge received, which is the biggest one, actually they made the application for the grant, they got $52,745. The town of Bedford got $17,289. Town of North Salem, $33,955. Town of Somers, $25,821.25. And we got $5,770.
How much?
$5,770. That's only because I only requested tablets. Basically, the highway superintendent will be the eyes and ears, and we have 3 other tablets that are available in town. And what happens is, someone's driving down the road, who's ever out in the road with these tablets, can log in with a code to the NISAC's mainframe, so to speak, and identify what they see. It's really pretty cool. There's a GPS system on it, so if they go down like my road, now, right in front of my house, I lost a telephone pole, and I lost my power for 8 days, probably the longest in the town. And you think the supervisor is supposed to be the first on? No way. They didn't even want it to come on, so I'm lucky I got it on in 8 days. But what they do is they go out with their tablet, they identify what it is, and this way NISAC knows and can send someone out there, because sometimes they don't know where all the breakages, the lines have snapped or whatever. So it's a really good thing. So I do want to thank Ms. Abels for helping us out, Kathleen Abels. She's been a resident for the town, and she pushed this to happen. She came into my office, discussed it with me, and I saw it as, something that we could definitely do, and it's to help out NISAC. Hopefully the powers will get restored easier, quicker, and there's more eyes and ears out in the streets, and that's what you need with any kind of work what you have whatsoever. So I think it's a good thing.
And I think Warren Lucas is always the North Salem supervisor, was really helpful putting a group together too, I thought. I met with him at one point about this.
Okay.
So,
And what this is it's a way for NICIG to prioritize damage.
Yeah,
because
and
they
know
can
where it
see
is.
pictures and know
Yeah.
where it
They
is.
can take pictures, it's a really good thing. Now, again, we're not getting a lot of money, but it's all I ask for. I mean, you can't be a pig and ask for things you don't need.
Right.
All these other municipalities do have police forces, so they're gonna have a lot more eyes and ears out there than we do. I mean, we have the state police and sheriff's department, but we can't ask them to go out there just on behalf of our town and help us identify that. If they want to, we probably got a tablet, but I don't see that happen. Our highway department would be our best thing. We have a special districts coordinator that could possibly use it, and any of us town board members can, go out there and use it as well. You'll be given a code, and it's just extra eyes and ears. It's an excellent thing. Any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is the supervisor's financial report. The good news is we're basically right on target. Always, the outside council line is always a little bit skittish, but other than that, and I'm not gonna put more money into it because they give us more opportunity, people are gonna wanna sue us for something, so I won't put any more money in the line. But otherwise, everything is going good. I know Lynn's disappointed with this report every month now for the past
oh, now I'm here, I'm happy.
4.5 years. She used to sit out there in the audience and say, "What's going on?" Now we can't tell them anything because everything is kind of good. I mean, at least we stay within budget. That's the big thing. You make a good budget, you stay within your budget, you don't have any shortfalls, and we keep moving along. So, other than that, that's it. Recognition of public. Up to the mic if you would, please, sir, and state your name for the record.
My name is Michael Kahn. I was here regarding the library resolution, but that's not my question. I happen to live diagonally across from Lakeview Manor, so I was just curious. I had heard rumors there would be renovations to the place.
Yes.
And I know you'll be presenting another day, so I'll come back because I'm interested and curious. The place does need some rehabbing. I was just curious, will the structure change in dimension?
Not
Will
the
it be-
dimensions will not change, but the face will be a lot prettier than it looks now.
Sounds good. And the interior, of
I
course.
think for the past couple of years, we tried to make improvements there. We're kind of ratty and things like that. We fixed it up, we trimmed trees, and it looks a lot better. And I'll
Yes.
tell you, when you see the picture, what it's gonna look like, I think the public and the seniors are gonna be very happy, because they've been waiting for about 5+ years for this to happen, and it's a good thing. And I gotta talk to the board offline about something else at some point in time, but it's more for the seniors and,
Oh, that's great. And I know you guys have done a good job over the years, like removing some of the dead willow trees that are along the water line and all that. So I was just curious about.
a couple more
the
trees coming
details.
down as soon as the bats are out of them, and it's gonna look very pretty. We're
Excellent.
gonna make it so you can see more of the lake, and that the trees, right there will be
Okay.
trimmed.
Well, that's my living room's view,
Okay,
right out there.
thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else in the public? Seeing none, town board members?
I spoke to County Highway Superintendent Fred Penna the other night at a meeting, and the Turk Hill, in good news, the Turk Hill Road Bridge is supposed to be completed ahead of schedule and before school starts. So I think that'll be really good news for our residents over in that neck of the woods.
Okay, and if you want to talk about bridges, as you can see, that those of you that go by the Prospect Hill Bridge, at least from the Kobacker side, this end of town, not the other side of town, they started their work there. Peter, you're not, you have to learn when.
Are you
Okay.
asleep in there?
Maybe maybe you should be on town board comment? Come on up. At any rate, they have begun construction on the Prospect Hill Bridge after being inactive for almost 9 years. They're working on it. It won't be done for another 2, but they are starting to make progress. Now, again, in the future, you are a
Public comment.
public comment, and this is town board comment.
I just happened to read something in one of the weekly papers outside about a solar farm going up they're trying to do it in Kent. I was just curious, what's happening with the solar farm over the garbage dump?
The solar farm over the garbage dump, I tried to contact the lady today, because we asked her maybe 4 months ago. They got an extension of the grant, and unfortunately, I heard bad news today that the DEP is asking some questions that were evidently not answered when we went through the planning board process. Now, the town board does not have to go, not the town board, but the town does not have to go through the planning board process with such a thing, but we do. We try to be a good neighbor to everybody. And they claim, what did they claim? They said they have no information on it.
Right.
So I'm contacting her to contact the town engineer. It's almost a year past due.
Yeah.
So we've been very patient with them, and at some point in time, they're either gonna say, we're not gonna do it, but when the New York State Gas and Electric contacted the DEP for something to do with the poles that had to be done, I don't know why they contacted the DEP, but that sent up a red flag that they had not seen anything on this. What are you talking about? So that's raised a little bit of a red flag, but I don't see it holding up the project. It may delay it a little bit more, but I'll have more for you maybe next time.
All right. One of the reasons I asked too, because as I remember, that was a bid deal. In other words, we had
Yes.
different people bid on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering if they can't do it, do we have?
Well,
some-
we have to get confirmation that it's rejected. Now, again, all these things go up because they get additional monies from NYSERDA and things of that way. They got the extension of the monies. That was done, okay? And I don't know what else they have to do. But they have to work with NISAC, and if NISAC touched off the nerve with the DEP, it's moving forward. Except unfortunately, it's probably 6 to 8 months they should have done, we would have had the answer, been done, but, you know, it's like anything in government. I hate to say it, in real life, it doesn't happen, but in government, it takes forever.
And it's not a project that the town wants to give up on at all.
No, no.
No, if they can't do it, we'll go to someone else, but
That's what I was
whatever they're
thinking.
running into, the next person's gonna run into.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
And I think the other issue was there was an email that Solar City was taken over by Tesla, and didn't she say that that was?
Yeah.
So,
and she must have a new email address,
right,
because her
because it's
email
now
got. Yeah, but her,
Tesla.com.
I have a Tesla email from her, and it got kicked back, so I gotta call her. I
Maybe
called
she's
her,
not there anymore.
she may not be.
May
So,
not have.
I started it today, her email got kicked back, I left a message on her phone, she didn't call me back, but, you know, Monday's another day. Anyone else on the town board?
I just wanted, I was at a meeting at the Elks, Brewster Elks before, but they just wanted me to mention, September 11th is coming up, and they have a ceremony that's open to the public, remembering, the events of September 11th. So it's, I believe it's 7 o'clock. So just an FYI, and we're all getting invitations. for town.
You're not, come up, someone else did it?
7, not 6?
I'll have to double check, it may be 6, okay. But it's definitely September 11th.
Is Jack doing his? Have you heard?
I haven't heard, but he
Okay.
usually does it in the morning at the.
But we'll
Yeah,
have,
some-
we'll have a meeting before then, we
Yes.
can announce that, so, if he is.
Anyone else?
Just have a wonderful Labor Day, everyone. Enjoy.
Okay, anyone else? Well, who wants to close the meeting?
Oh, boy.
Everyone's not here.
Well, then, go right ahead.
Oh, I've never done it, I don't want to
Oh,
start.
come on. It's always the first time.
All right, I will make a motion that we close the meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.